I know, sometimes when we need something we just focus on that particular need and want to get what we want no matter what. At this point, we will do everything in our power to get it, and that's all of us who behave that way. Whether you're a Christian, non-religious, whether you're keeping the Torah, atheist, you name it. For those of us who said, I love my Heavenly Father, we try our best to keep the commandments to the best of our ability. Although we read the verses, somehow we tend to forget that our Heavenly Father's words will not return to Him void. When He said, I will never leave nor forsake you, He meant it. He is not a man that He should lie. Your thoughts are not His thoughts. Your ways are not His ways. He is the Alpha, the Omega, the beginning, and the end. He sees and knows everything. Psalms 139 verse 4 reads, You know my thoughts. Psalms 34 The angel of God encamps around those that fear Him. I just want to remind those of you who fear God in whatever you're doing, no matter what the outcome is, you should always give thanks. Be anxious for nothing. Why? That's because God knows everything that will happen before it happened. As for us humans, we can't foresee the future unless God blessed us with that ability or we get ourselves into demonic activities. We can't read anyone's minds nor know their past. We go according to what we see and know. Most of us pray daily to ask the Heavenly Father for protection in everything that we do. Therefore, when we, for instance, going to do something, we are trusting Him for guidance and making ways for us. Nonetheless, when we're about to do something and we encounter some roadblock that caused whatever we were about to do to come to a halt, we automatically throw a fit thinking that it is Satan who's doing it. Again, it is for good reasons it says to be anxious for nothing, but in everything give thanks. When we find roadblocks in our life, it's not because God doesn't love us. It's not because He didn't hear our prayers or doesn't want to bless us. It's not always Satan standing in the way to block our blessings. That's because whatever we were about to do would have done some damage to us or our family, so God stopped whatever we were about to do from happening. At the spur of the moment, we forgot that our Heavenly Father said that He will never leave nor forsake you. The spirit of wants overwhelmed our hearts, and we become blind to any danger seen or unseen. We're not thinking right because our focus is on that particular thing that we long for. Our Heavenly Father already knew and foreseen that what we seek will not be good for us, so He caused it to halt or stop so we can have some time to reflect and think. But sometimes we are so persistent, even though we find roadblocks. In most cases, we don't stop to reflect on the decisions we just made, but instead, we push it to the limit to acquire what we want. Only if we had taken some time to think it through when it comes to a halt, and take a few steps back and wait and then go to prayer. I guarantee we will have better results in all of our decision-making. Many times we found ourselves saying, God, your will be done, but we don't mean that. Because when things don't go our way, we throw a fit, become depressed, and think God didn't hear our prayers. We don't realize the reason we didn't get what we wanted is that He heard our prayers. That's why He intervened to save us from a disastrous decision. I don't know if you understand where I'm coming from. That's why it is important to give thanks for everything. Jeremiah 29:11 For I know the thoughts that I think toward you, saith God, thoughts of peace and not of evil, to give you a future and a hope. I had some experiences lately that shook my faith and which bring me to learn to take a step back if I'm doing something that comes to a halt, to give God thanks rather than complaining. At the time things weren't working out for me, I started to think that God did not hear my prayers. It felt as if no matter what I've done, I wasn't getting anywhere. But that wasn't the case at all. God allowed it to halt for good reason that I couldn't understand until after. When I had time to step back and look for more information, I found out that God saved me from a disastrous decision that would have cost me thousands. You see, when you pray and ask God to protect you, He will protect you from everything. As I said, we forget we asked Him for protection, and when He does, instead of giving Him thanks, we get frustrated and throw a fit. We blame Satan and everyone else rather than seeing that it is He who allowed it to happen for our good. Don't get me wrong, Satan sometimes does get in the way. Understand that Satan stands in between heaven and earth, and he can hear your prayers and your conversation. Satan what normally does is use your words against you. Remember, he is here to steal, kill, and destroy. He is the great deceiver and accuser. Just to give you an example of Satan using your words against you is Yashar'el, chapter 22 and 23, where Isaac was having a conversation with Ishmael, and he said that if God was to ask him to give his life for a sacrifice, he would. Satan saw an opportunity to accuse Abraham, and use it in chapter 23 against both Avraham and Isaac. The chapters may be different in other books. That chapter I reference are from the Sefer Bible. That's why it's good to make your prayer in secret to your God, because He can read your thoughts and mind. Satan doesn't know what's in your heart unless you utter it out of your mouth. Remember that. Bear in mind, anything you are about to do, you must look into it with a magnifying glass. You have to be patient. If you are dealing with anyone who is rushing you to make a quick decision, you should question that person's intention. My advice is to walk away as soon as possible. Don't rush to make any decisions. Always go to God and ask Him to show if whatever you're about to do is good or bad before you come to any agreement. Remember, Satan takes great joy to see you fail. Therefore, he will push you to make rational decisions that will be regrettable. When Satan sees that God stops you from falling into his trap, he will send the spirit of depression, complaining, feeling worthless, discouragement, sadness. You will feel that God hates you and didn't hear your prayers. Be aware of these spirits because they are Satan's weapons. If you know whose you are serving, you will recognize Satan's schemes and you will be thankful for everything. You will glorify God always. With that note, I will say Shalom.